Fight, fight, fight!
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to No Filter Gen Z. We are young Americans fighting to defend the truth. I'm with Elijah and Lydia today, and we are going to be talking about what's going on with the next generation, with kids, because it really feels like kids are being taught all sorts of things that are just indoctrinating them and making them think things, getting confused, and all sorts of things that we just don't want children to have to deal with. So we're going to talk about that today. Lydia, Elijah, welcome to the show. We'll start with Lydia. What do you think about the current state of children and what we're teaching them and where they're going?
I mean, I would think now it definitely is going upward, just also because of the presidential administration. Like, I feel like there is a lot that is improving, but there's still a lot we need to work on.
Yeah.
Especially with the Department of Education, like that, Trump wants to abolish it just because it hasn't done any good. Ultimately, like the funding has not been, helping and doing what it actually was maybe originally intended to do. And leaving it to the states type of thing. I think that definitely will help as far as, because again, Department of Education, like, and just educating children, like that is the future, and that is definitely something we need to pay attention to.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely think it has gotten better, but definitely there are still aspects of what has gone on with how we teach children that is still sorely misconstrued. And I think that there are improvements that need to be made. And I think it really is lack of the truth and lack of what, the Bible says. And, I get that, not public schools don't necessarily use those things, but again, they use other things. They use other means of, as we would call indoctrination. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I kind of wanted to theme this around is America failing kids? Because there's a lot of different things going on. One, you pointed out the education system has become pretty corrupt and indoctrinated by the gender stuff and stuff that kids don't need to be learning. But also, on the other hand, we have abortion, which is killing many kids that could have had a life. So that's the other side. We'll get into that later. But to start out, Elijah, I want to ask you for the first little segment here with the schools. What is your view on the indoctrination stuff, and should we have any political issues, gender issues in schools, or is this all stuff we need to take out? What is your view of the school system right now?
Well, being from Buffalo, New York, there's actually some things that I don't know if you guys have seen it or if it's just being recommended to me, maybe because YouTube somehow knows I'm from
Yeah,
Buffalo.
tell us.
But people are exposing the Buffalo school systems as we speak for corruption and indoctrination and all this other stuff. It's extremely corrupt. There's a
Wow.
lot of favoritism, and there's a lot of specific things that they're teaching that is extremely wrong. And there's a lot of stuff coming out about it. Like as we speak, literally. It's
Wow.
kind of crazy to think I never even thought about, the stuff I was learning about in middle school and elementary school and how maybe it's not fully the truth. But,
Yeah.
looking back, I realized New York, it's known for its super high educational value and high standards, but it's also known for its corruption and being, democratic more than a Republican, and not being fair to, certain groups of people who may not want their kids learning about this kind of stuff. And in
Yeah.
general, teaching kids about politics, teaching kids about, LGBT, and, you feel like this, so maybe you should be this.
Mm.
Maybe we should be teaching that to kids who are very easily gullible and who are actively striving to find role models and people that they can look up to and listen to. So they're very easily swayed, and you shouldn't be taking advantage of that. You should let them grow up without the issue of politics, without the issue of LGBT. Let them be kids.
I was gonna say,
I
let the
mean,
kids be kids.
yeah, and being from the farm town that I'm from, I grew up in the woods. I realized guys and girls, first off, learn differently. And second off, neither of us should really be sitting in a desk for 8 hours a day learning about stuff that we may never even apply in our life. Guys should be learning how to provide for a family, take care of a family, cut wood, take care of animals, live on a farm, or even, prepare for the job,
Mm.
the workforce, so that
Yeah.
they're overqualified by the time they are ready to work.
Yeah, and I think
Mm,
that what kids learn in school should be, I strongly believe it should be objective. Everything they learn should
Yeah.
be like math, reading, science, objective truth, and not opinionated by the teacher, because there's some
mhm.
things I've seen online. I think we even showed one time on No Filter of like a past episode where there was like pride flags in the classroom and all this stuff from the teacher that is trying to force their beliefs on the children who are there just to learn. Like when I have children, I don't want them to go to school and be just indoctrinated by a teacher's beliefs. It should be about the truth, math, science, English, writing, reading. Like what's the point in shoving this stuff in their face? Well, of course there's a point because there's always an agenda, but I think that a perfect ideal school system would be objective and not so much opinionated.
Yeah, and the thing is, if we're going to teach about not even the political side, because again, I agree with Elijah, like politics should be kept out of the classroom. But if we're teaching any ounce of who what this country is about, we should be teaching like the core foundational principles of how we were founded, like our government, like things
Yeah,
like that. That's
civics.
okay. Civics,
Yeah.
yes, civics, but we shouldn't even go the political side because it goes up into the college level. I mean, they're teachers from elementary to what we're dealing with now as college students, having teachers that constantly feel the need to put their opinionated 2 cents in. And so, and at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what you think as a teacher, it matters what is the truth, and you should be teaching that. And that's ultimately where we're falling off, as American society and American education.
I
I don't
mean, you
know.
can see clearly American education is like last around the world right now, ever since the
Yeah.
Department of Education was founded. And it's kind of like a federal part is actually not needed for education because
Yes.
then you have it's too much regulation when it's at the
Hmm.
federal level to tell the schools what to do because then you get whoever's in charge gets to decide that then you could put anything indoctrinate in any kind of indoctrination in the schools because of a federal thing. But I think putting
Yeah.
it back into the states would help. But you're right, even into the college level, all the way up. If there's a class about civics and about the government and stuff, there should be no discussion on who's better, Trump's better, or Biden, or whatever. There should be nothing like that for kids. They should be learning how it works, and then you should teach them what they need to know about it without forcing your beliefs. I'm a conservative, a Republican, but I'm not. If I was a teacher, I still wouldn't want them to only hear that side. I think it's important for them to make their own decisions as they're getting older, but definitely not at that age to just force it down their throat like that.
Yeah. I mean, free thinking is also so important. Like, we shouldn't, dismiss the fact that, yeah, professors are going to have different opinions than their students will, and that's okay. But at the end of the day, like, teachers should allow there to be a space for, critical thinking, which
And
I'm,
you can't
obviously not
grade them
opposed to.
differently just because they have a different view
No.
than you.
And that's the fault there because we should if teachers are grading like discussion posts or classroom discussion in general or essays, like they should be basing it on the quality of their research or the way that they're
Exactly.
able to describe their ideas, not if especially if it's an opinion based paper, not if they're right to the professor's standards or not, because that's where that's where the issue comes
Yeah,
ultimately. Yeah.
I'll actually read you what a professor graded me and the
Mhm.
feedback they gave me on an essay. I'm in college, and this is an economics class, and it was an essay about women and like economics, them in different fields and the pay gap and stuff like that, right? And one of the prompts was like how valuable is a woman's time in the home versus outside the home, stuff like that, right? So getting into who should be at home and stuff. And the feedback that I got from the teacher says this is what she told me after grading my essay. Just curious, when you say you personally believe mothers should stay home when their kids are little, would you say fathers could stay home instead? That's the feedback I got on my essay. So nothing about the writing on the research, anything from the actual class. but a question to my own belief about women being the one that should stay on with the kids. Why would the teacher point that out and not anything about the essay? It's just ridiculous.
Well, was that professor female?
Yeah.
Then you can just tell the offense.
It's a feminist, clearly.
Yeah, and nothing about the quality of your research or those. I appreciate those opinions, like great perspective. No, do you think? And you can tell, like,
yeah,
you can just
maybe
tell
the father should stay home and say, like, what are you trying to teach these kids in college? It's so indoctrinated. I think college is, as much as I'm in college, but I still think a lot of it is a big scam.
It is. I mean, because that is the epitome of that. I mean, if you go to quality, now there are exceptions, obviously, because if you go to quality, like private universities that, they can kind of decide and delegate like what they're going to be teaching. And then people can get their education from places that they really do value, especially like Christian colleges and things like that. Like, I think those are a lot of the exceptions. And, especially if you're getting your general courses different places, but like certain state schools, a lot of it is like that, and it's really, really sad that it has to be labeled as a scam,
And by the way, we're in Florida, and there's still this stuff going on. So I can't imagine, like, more liberal states, like Elijah talked about Buffalo. I'm sure that it's even worse up there when majority of people are liberal. Then what if you're the only conservative and you write a different opinion on something, and then, like, you're graded completely different? It's just not. It's not education anymore, really.
Yeah. I mean, luckily, a lot of my friends were pretty conservative as well in my farm towns. So, and I was very fortunate to have some nice teachers, some good teachers, even ones who disagreed. Like, they really respected my opinion.
Good.
Even in health class,
That's
which
how it
is
should
very
be.
strange.
Yeah.
Like, I had a lesbian health teacher, and I stated some pretty conservative points, and she's like, I respect that. I'm like,
wow,
you know what? I appreciate that.
That's
so
awesome.
It was pretty.
That's how it should be.
Yeah, that's much better.
Yeah.
So
that's fantastic.
All right, let's move on to the next segment of minors being able to do things that they probably shouldn't be able to do. Obviously, you guys know what I'm talking about, like changing their gender, cutting off their body parts. But let me ask a question. Why can a 13-year-old get hormones and surgery, but they can't get a tattoo and they can't vote? Does people have a problem with those things being younger, but they don't have a problem with this being a thing a minor can decide?
Yeah, I mean, it just goes to the root of just how extremely backwards, because I think they think that a child should have the right to, be comfortable in whatever body they feel like they should. But at the same time, like, you can't trust what a child thinks at that point in time, because they don't even know what they think.
Exactly.
They're listening to every other thing that everyone else is telling them, or what they're, seeing on TV, especially. And
what their parents do and what their role models do.
And there are so many parents nowadays that they have kids that may be struggling with, gender identity issues. And the thing is, sometimes the parents are affirming them, and they're the ones that I'm like, you should not be a parent if that is what you're doing, and you're, affirming every little thing that your child says. Like, oh, I want to be, because then you have the kids that, like, identify even as like animals. If if their kid is like, I really feel like I'm a dog, and the kid's like, or the parents like, yes you are, like, let's have you go to the bathroom outside. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, and the thing is, this kind of stuff is happening, and I've heard stories of this stuff happening in Florida too.
It's crazy.
It's crazy.
Yeah, and if you're a parent, I feel bad for the kids. I don't even blame them for being confused about who they are and their gender and stuff, because the parents play such a big role in that. If they're affirming them not liking their own body, then of course they're going to be confused. But the thing is, children are moldable to what they look up to. They are, everything they think as you're growing up is what you see. It's not even what people say, really. It's more about what you're seeing as an example in front of you. And so if you have parents like that, I just feel bad for the kids, because that's not even their fault. Like, sometimes you get into a situation where you're feeling like these things because of the people that are supposed to be role models for you, and they end up being these influences that can change how you feel about your own body. But as a 13, 14-year-old, you're not supposed to feel right because your body's changing. It's the whole point. You're growing up, and to say that these changes are like not normal is ridiculous. And for the people to back up science, but then tell kids to change their gender because they don't feel right, well, that's what puberty is. You're not gonna feel right. That's the whole point. You're changing, but at those times, it's so critical to have influencers around you that are not trying to affirm you in everything you think. So, Elijah, what do you think?
I think it all stems back to having a good father figure and also a good mother figure as well, because the mother's there when the father isn't, ideally, like in a traditional sense. Um, and when I was a kid, I used to play wolf with my friends, you know. I never was told, thankfully, by my parents that maybe you are a wolf,
Oh
because
my, yeah,
very
exactly.
clearly I'm not. It was just play, which is the key word. It was play,
Yeah,
not real.
yeah,
And so, I mean, it's very important to have those figures in your life, even if they're not your mother and your father. Maybe you have bad parents, but
right.
finding that figure in your life, if there is a kid out there watching this who is struggling, like, find a good figure. Find someone who will not only just tell you you're okay, you know, they'll point out your flaws and they'll help you get better,
Mm,
and not just affirm you in your flaws. Like, God wove you in your mom's womb. He made you exactly how he wanted you. He didn't just when he made Adam, he didn't just say, you know, it was good. He didn't just say that to say that. It's not like Adam decided to like neuter himself and call himself Eve and act like Eve and vice versa. Eve didn't take TRT and become a man and start herding sheep. Like, no, God made you how you're supposed to be.
yeah,
All right? That's just how it is.
yeah.
So good.
I agree. And the thing that's sad is, yes, you can have bad parents, but then the thing that's sad is the kids really they just get put into the situation because of that. Like they get put into these things that they don't try to and don't try to control. So what you're saying, Elijah, is 100% true that even if you have bad parents or not the best role models, you can find better influences and mentors. One of the best ways is through a church because you have people that really care about you in a good church. And finding that could actually, I mean, even me, I have good parents, but I also had great youth pastors and leaders that helped me grow spiritually. And that affected every part of my life. So you can find them even if it's not your parents. And that's something we should make clear to people that are struggling because it's, you're not everyone is put into the best situation, but God can change any situation. So if you seek Him, that's where the real change starts to come, and no one's too far gone. God can change anything.
That's so good. Yeah, and also, yeah, emphasizing the fact that you can have female and you can have male mentors, you know, in the right settings, like what you were saying, Elijah. Like if you don't have good parents, like to find those people, but also, you know, your opposite gender too, which you know can help obviously in the appropriate setting, though, you know, especially
Mm-hmm.
in a church setting, you know, but having those people, different perspectives, and you know, having someone to be a good Christ-like model in all the aspects is so important. And I've also had those influences as well, as I've also had been blessed with great parents. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, it's an important conversation. And then we'll go into the next uh, failure of America. Last year, I think I read this yesterday, it was 400,000 abortions took place in 2024. So that, I mean, I think it might just been America. I don't even know. But just no matter what that number is, something that big means that many children didn't get the opportunity to live a life that they should have gotten to live. So I think abortion is one of the biggest issues in our country. I mean, birth rates are down so much, largely due to abortion. Like so many kids don't get the opportunity. So we'll go to Lydia first. What do you think about the whole, I guess, idea of this in America going on, and what can we do about it?
I mean, I will say, I mean, it's completely tragic just when you see, like, when you see numbers and statistics like that even exist just in America and just the sheer volume of children. And that just shows the root of what Planned Parenthood is about.
Yeah.
And people, you know, make claims that they do X, Y, and Z, like they like provide, you know, various forms of care, but they provide more harm than help, because there are plenty of other, like, there's great, even in our area, there's a program called Pregnancy Solutions nonprofit, and they provide
I've heard of that.
all of those, wonderful resources like free ultrasounds and all of those resources. And just, if you have an unplanned pregnancy, there's like help, and there's services and people that can help you and guide you along your journey. And so for people to feel so lost, and there's so many women that are, lost in like the unplanned certainties, and just turning to places like Pregnancy Solutions and being, you know, used by them in so many ways. And so it's just awful to see. And that's why I think it's so important that Planned Parenthood needs to be defunded. And so I believe that the Trump administration, they are taking some steps towards that, but I believe this is honestly should be one of the top priorities, because I mean, again, these are American human lives, and as much as a lot of people would not like to admit that they are human lives, they are. And so I think there needs to be an urgency to that. And I also want to point out that also in recent like months, there have been things that have come out about how Planned Parenthood also provides what they call the gender affirming care. And there's actually a Planned Parenthood in Great Rivers. This is actually all on the Live Action page, because they're a wonderful nonprofit,
Yes,
pro-life
yes.
nonprofit organization. And they literally, this Planned Parenthood actually advertises on their website that they provide gender affirming care. So again, this couples with what we were just talking about, that, this evil organization not only provides abortions, but they also provide this care to susceptible young people. And then there's two cases. There's Christina Heinman and Helena Kirshner. They were actually both 18 when they went into a Planned Parenthood clinic, and they both were, I believe it was, I forget which one of the people there, but they had it was like a 30-minute appointment, and because they were seeking testosterone, and they were given it like immediately. And I believe Helena Kirshner was the one that she wanted, to become a man so badly that they gave her, I think it was like 4 times the recommended dose of testosterone. Again,
It can't
and they
be
were
good
both
for you.
18, barely legal, and so it just shows how Planned Parenthood and the abortion industry does prey on people, not just for abortions, but for things like this too.
Yeah, it's definitely evil, and it should be
Yeah.
there should be no federal funding towards that. That's
Yep.
insane. That's a lot of, I mean, a lot of confusion and murder. Like, there's a lot of things going on. Like, for people, I think I even saw a video of someone calling Planned Parenthood and saying that they're like a certain amount of weeks pregnant, and then they were like, "Oh yeah, you can get abortion." Like, and it
Yeah.
wasn't an early stage. It was like the 3rd trimester, and they were like, "Yeah, you can come in and get an abortion." And it's things like that is just sad, and it's I think it's one of the biggest evils of our time, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But Elijah, what are your thoughts on all of it?
I just think it's a lack of empathy that we're showing kids. Like, you are important, but the people, the child who wasn't born yet, we could care less about them. As long as they're not out of the womb yet, you know, they're not important. Once you're out of the womb, you're important. So like
Mm.
I think it's just a lack of empathy for things that can't take care of themselves, that are still, living, but I've heard people call them parasites. I've heard people
Ugh.
call them all sorts of things, and it's just disgusting to me. I mean, and on top of that, like people seem to forget, like once you start having kids, life is no longer about you. Not as a
Mm-hmm.
man. I'm not saying this as a man or as a woman or as anyone, just a human being. Life no longer revolves around you once you start having kids. Your life now centers around them and their well-being, no matter whether they're out of your womb or not. It's all of a sudden that's on you now. You need to be preparing yourself as best you can for
And
those kids.
it's actually a good thing though. Like,
Yeah,
when you have something bigger than yourself to look towards, everything about your life changes when you have something like
yeah.
that. So like having children is a family's amazing.
Yeah,
Um,
and people
yeah.
dread that for some reason, and it's just really weird. In my opinion, it's America just not wanting to grow up. I think it's an American problem. We want to party, we want to have fun, we want to do all this and that, and once a kid comes around, we realize that's not going to be the case anymore, and
Mm.
we get scared of that. I can't even say we, some of us get scared of that.
Yeah.
I'm excited. So
No, it's all. I mean, I am too, but it's also, I think, a lot of liberal lies that tell women
yeah,
that their life ends when they have a baby, but really
yeah,
that's when it begins. That's when you get a
Mhm.
bigger purpose in yourself. So I hate that they
absolutely.
talk about it like that. And
Yeah,
and let's like to what you said about some people say it's a parasite or like a clump of cells. What species is it?
it's human
It's
beings.
I
human.
mean,
That
yeah,
means if you don't do anything, that is you. Eventually it's you. So it doesn't matter if they can take care of itself, because that by that logic, liberals could kill their 2-year-old and nothing would be wrong. Nothing would be a problem.
Or a
and the thing
90-year-old.
is,
Yeah.
yeah, and the thing is, we all are clumps of cells. I mean, and that's the thing. I
I mean,
mean,
yeah, that's true.
by their because that's the claim, but it's like in reality, like every living thing, clumps of cells, like we're all,
Yeah.
so
And it also
doesn't.
has its own his or her own DNA.
Yep.
It's not the
Hmm.
mother's DNA. So when they're like, my body, my choice, it's actually not your body because it's not your DNA. Like,
Yep.
just biologically, it's not. It's its own DNA, which is something to bring up as well.
Yeah, because I mean, yes, you're the vessel. I would be the vessel, but we're separate beings, and I have a responsibility. Whenever I start having kids, I have a responsibility to, steward that gift that I have to be able to bring life into the world.
It's
So,
amazing,
yeah.
actually. But what do you
Yeah.
guys think about the? I mean, I know this is not the main point of the episode, but what do you guys think about the point where abortions, like, legally can happen or not? Like, what would your uh, what would you want it to be if you could change it?
I would probably say, ideally, like only in a like life and death situation. I wouldn't allow abortions any other way. Like only if the woman's going to die, and
Mm.
even to that point, like I just I don't know. Yeah, probably life or death.
Yeah, no, like amount of weeks, like they talk about. Is there a
Yeah,
certain point?
I wouldn't say nah, probably not. Just because like no matter when, like life begins at conception. This is not a new thing. Like that is a life to begin with the second you do it. Like
Yeah,
so.
Lydia, what do you think?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm 100% pro-life, just like we all are here, and I would abolish it altogether. I mean, even like certain organizations do claim, like scientifically, like there is no actually abortion is never 100% medically necessary. Like there are, and
Yeah,
especially
now that
if
we have C-sections, yeah.
yes, and also the thing is they talk about if there's like certain medications being given that don't aren't directly made to harm that fetus, and they maybe do and collateral damage harm the fetus, but they're actually meant for the mother. That's not considered abortion care. So I think people get that a lot misconstrued a lot, but that's important
Yeah.
to know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to show you guys a video of when life actually begins for anybody watching. Look at this.
Is the document
I'll just turn the sound off, but watch what happens when sperm actually enters the egg. Look, it's actual light
Wow.
at the start of a life. I mean, it doesn't get much
And it
more. It
creates
doesn't
this-
get much clearer than that. That's when life really begins. It's literally the moment they meet. Light literally comes out. It's amazing. It's amazing.
That is so God right there.
I know.
For people to say that there's not evidence of a designer, you know what I mean? That's
Yeah.
that's no chance.
All this is evidence for me. Like people always say like, if God is real, why doesn't He really show Himself and give us proof? I'm like, everything around us is proof. That right there is proof of life actually starting with light. That's amazing. It's a miracle.
That's amazing. That's awesome.
All right, let's move on to something lighter but also horrible. I want to show you guys one more clip of something that I saw that happens in schools that I think we're really failing our children on. Last thing for the episode here. Look what's going on in schools right now. I mean, drag show in school, a person that is a man that's trying to look like a woman in Look how little these kids are. A
And-
mandatory assembly where there's a pride show. I just can't. Drag queens. It's crazy.
And for people to claim that indoctrination is not happening, that's Exhibit A right
Right.
there. Actually, not even Exhibit A because there's so many other examples that we can give. But that is so sad to me. And the fact that, prayer and certain things like that aren't even allowed in
Right.
schools like that, but yet that's allowed?
People
That's-
think it's like the end of the world when you say that prayer can be involved in schools, but then they're fine with that.
Yeah, it's so backwards. There's such a double standard. But, yeah.
I mean, I would be scared nowadays to send my kid to public school because of stuff like this. Parents might not even know about this stuff going on,
Yeah. You want to talk about testosterone getting lower every single generation? There's your proof right there.
Yeah. It's not by coincidence.
No.
No. It's
In fact, they were appropriating this and allowing it. Like, men are supposed to be strong and, confident.
Yeah.
Not in that way though. Not confident in dressing in women's clothing in front of children. That's
And trying
weird.
to make your body look like a woman. Like it's so weird. It's not normal. It's not
Yeah.
normal.
I don't even know how this is remotely educational for these kids. I'm also
not.
wondering, like, what, education benefit do they think that this brings? Like, creative expression, maybe, but no. At the same time, there are so many different ways you can express your creative expression without doing that.
Yeah. I think it's on purpose. I think Elijah actually was right on the head on that it's purposeful to make men weaker like this.
Yeah.
Because then who's vulnerable? The women, the children, like this. That's how you destroy a society, really.
Yeah.
I think this is where, this is America is really behind. There's countries like even different religions do better a job of nations that are other religions are doing a better job at not letting stuff like this happen in their countries. Like I feel embarrassed about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it just goes to show, even with our, new administration, as well as it's doing with things like that, certain schools will do whatever the heck that they want to do.
Yeah,
And
still a lot of work to do.
Yeah, we do have a lot of work to do still. Yeah, you're so right.
Yeah, those are some of the issues, but there's also a lot of upside as well. Like you mentioned at the beginning, Lydia, we are going on a positive trajectory with certain things, and I think we're getting back to teaching kids what a man and a woman look like, and I think that starts with the church and the Bible and what it teaches, because there's no better truth to look towards than that. So there's definitely still hope because we have the Bible, we have God, we have Jesus. So
Yep.
it's not all lost. We're gonna have to be a part of that though. As Gen Z, when we get older, we're gonna have to be those influences for the kids to make sure that we save them, push them in the right direction, not the wrong one.
And I think we already are.
Yeah.
Most of our generation has realized the bullcrap that's going on and have already changed. I grew up just thinking that way. I grew up in the woods, so I'm not exactly out there seeing this crap as a kid. I was out hunting squirrels, building forts and stuff like that. That's what I was doing.
Well, you dodged a bullet there with some of this stuff going on now.
Yeah, I didn't do that kind of stuff, but I definitely will say that schools have changed since I was in, elementary and middle school.
Me too.
Yeah.
Never had to think about this stuff, but now as a parent, you got to look at what's going on. It's kind of
Yeah.
sad, but we're gonna save it. We're gonna make sure we are on top of doing everything we can, and everyone watching as well. Look at what's wrong, look at what's right, and make your own decisions, because there's a country to save here. So thank you guys for watching this episode. Click that subscribe button if you enjoyed the conversation. Elijah, Lydia, thank you for joining me today, and we will see you guys next week. We're here every week with an episode of No Filter. See you guys. Peace.